Ronnie, I mean, do you think Crossroads is worthwhile? I mean, I always feel that people are rather rude about Crossroads. I mean, take Victoria Wood's sketches where the furniture's wobbling and people forget their lines. People don't knock Coronation Street like Crossroads, do they? Does it hurt you, that?
It can do, to be honest. Yes, it can do. But we have, on the other hand, become an institutionalised joke. We're like Blackpool and Landladies and Crossroads. It's always an easy laugh. And it does amuse us when stand-up comics sort of read from idiot boards, laughs about actors not knowing their lines, you know. It can hurt, yes, but on the other hand, we have... actually, just for the record, our latest viewing figures have been 16 million and 18 million.
Very
so, you know, that many people are interested in watching us at least. And we get an enormous feedback from the audience, and that's really what we're about, getting that feedback. So, you know,
would you like to be in a soap like Dynasty?
I'd love it.
Now, why would you love it?
Mainly for the money. Each time I earn a bit of money from soap, I've been doing it in this country now for 20 years. And you don't get rich doing British soap.
Are you sure you don't
you
get
talk
rich?
about daytime. This is a very important distinction here. We're always compared with Dynasty and Dallas. We are nothing like. Although we don't go out in the daytime, we go out, in fact, at 6 o'clock, 6:30. The others go out at 7, 7:30. But they are still, in essence, your daytime soaps. They're made the same way.
And there's a great deal of difference. Yeah.
Enormous difference. Also, we do it 3 times a week. Well, we do it 4, but it's shown 3.
Yeah.
Every week of the year.
Yes,
you know,
right.
we're much more like your
We take
daytime
7
soap.
days, 8 days to film 1 hour show,
Yeah.
whereas our daytime soaps shoot 5 shows a week.
Exactly.
5 hours a week. They produce a show a day. It's incredible to me. And the actors, what they have to do, I couldn't do it. I did do a soap. I've forgotten about it. I did a thing called Dark Shadows in New York, and it almost killed me. I was doing some commercials, I was doing an off-Broadway show, and I was doing this thing called Dark Shadows, and I would run home with my lines, and It's tremendously difficult.
What does Joan Collins look like at 5 in the morning? You've
But
got
there
lovely
is-
legs,
there
she's
is-
got eyes.
Really. But my legs and Joan's
Chunky
eyes
thighs.
and everybody else, including Linda, John, at 5 in the morning, we all look bad. We all come in on purpose looking bad. There's no way you can look good at 5 in the morning.
How long does the makeup take for the women on that?
Well, they spend a great deal of time on their wardrobe. That is primarily the main concept of that show. The budget on wardrobe, sets and background, that's where
It all
it
goes
is.
on the glam
The
aspect.
writing is secondary. Storylines are secondary. It is everything that's about the show is
You see, quite the opposite to our show, for instance.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely the opposite. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, your budget for one show would do us for a year, you know.
Let's talk about budgets. I've been quite intrigued about this. Brenda Ennis, somebody mentioned that their favourite was Gems, and in fact, I have to say, it's a Thames Television one, and you must be very pleased because it's 6 million in as many months, isn't it?
Weeks.
Weeks?
Actually.
How long's it been going for, then?
It's been on the air since January, beginning of January, and it's reached 6 million already.
Very good,
Not bad.
very good. How much do you spend on money? Do you spend on one episode? Because I don't think many people know at all about budgets, do they? It's quite...
Well, 1/2 hour is budgeted at £20,000.
Are you surprised at that?
Half an hour?
Yes. What, do you think that's a lot or a little?
It's a lot.
A lot. Is it a lot, Brenda?
Well, if you compare it with an hour's drama, that would normally cost between £200,000 and £250,000 for an hour. So it's actually very cheap drama.
You say, Brenda, that you've just started. Now, are you worried that once people really get to know your stars in Gems, that they're going to get big-headed and you're going to get a lot of trouble?
Oh, no. Good heavens, no. Actors don't get big-headed if they're good actors.
Oh, well.
What I've found, anyway.
That's very interesting. Do you get a lot of internecine warfare?
Notice my head getting smaller?
Are you too conceited?
No, not at all. I don't think so.
Do you all get on as a team? I mean, I know it's the answer. You'll say, of course we do. We all love each other. But is that really true, Geoffrey?
In my case, in our show, absolutely. I mean, the Inquirer and all the tabloids write these incredible stories, but these people are all professionals. They're making good money. They're very thankful to be there, and they know how to get along.
It's almost an essential of the job, isn't it? You know, you just have to get on as a team and work as a team, otherwise you're not going to do it, you know.
Absolutely.
And incidentally, almost all soaps in this country and in America are based on the principle that no one is indispensable. And in my case, they've just proved it.
Oh, we'll see you rise again. I'm sure we will.
As long as I have Sue with me, I will.
That's right. Darcy from Brookside. Does that mean, because listening to Ronnie and Geoffrey there, it's that the actor really isn't that important? Is that the same in your series, both of you?
Yes, I think it is, really, yes.
So who is the one that's wielding all the power?
I wouldn't say the actor isn't important.
No, well...
I wouldn't say that at all. No.
No, but I think what we're saying is that once you're familiar, even... there are so many of you that so long as there is a continuity, the actual individual can be replaced.
Sure.
I think Coronation Street has shown the truth of that, because a lot of actors have left the programme, and yet it's still getting very, very high ratings, and it's still very popular and everyone's enjoying it.
Anybody worried at all about the violence and the sex in these soaps? Anybody concerned about that at all? The lady here.
Well, they're making a fool out of everyone, aren't they?
They make a fool out of what, the viewer?
Yeah, they give you the wrong impression that you think everything's on that, and it's nothing to do with it, really.
It's nothing to do with real life?
Yeah, they've always got sex and all that on TV, and little kids watch them. I think that's all life's about.
That's interesting. Dorothy, what do you feel?
Well, in fact, soaps are actually very moral. Even though there's often a lot of sex, particularly in the American soaps, usually people have to suffer for if they have sex and it's not within the confines of a marriage. They usually have to suffer for it. In fact, British soaps are very moral. There's very little sex that ever appears, and people imagine. I mean, the press blow up the stories as if they are full of sex and violence. In fact, soaps, that's one of the reasons why they are so popular. They actually have very little sex and violence in them, and they're seen as family viewing. What they do have that I think is also important is they have problems. They bring to the forefront problems of everyday life.
Yes, social
problems. And often people have said to me that they would see a problem in a soap, and maybe it doesn't matter how the soap resolves that problem. It talks about the things that they would share with other people.
Some people, I'm sure, would disagree with you. I mean, do you think they are full of value, or are they junk, Tony?
I think they're full of value. I agree with Dorothy there about the moral nature of soaps. I think there are recent examples of this in Coronation Street. We all remember the big affair a couple of years ago. I think, in a sense...
Don't mention the affair,
well,
for goodness
sake. I think we knew the outcome of that before it eventually happened. I think that we know that there's a kind of moral climate which can't be contravened. Similarly, the same character, Baldwin, is involved with another young lady at the moment, but she's married. And unless that marriage is somehow undermined, I don't see how... you know, he could have any kind of romantic future with that character.
People take it terribly seriously, though, don't they, Ronnie? I mean, don't people write into you and apply for jobs and things like that?
Oh, enormously. There's a lot more to be said about these 2 points, actually. But, yes, I mean, a lot more. The moral thing, I think, was an extremely good point. We do keep within that moral bound. The other thing, the usefulness of shows and the realisation of problems. This is something which Crossroads particularly is actually very proud of. We have dealt with huge problems. The mentally handicapped storyline we did recently when we had a Down syndrome child on the show. I mean, this was enormously useful. The letters one got from people who did not know that other people had the same problem. I mean, that sounds unbelievable.
Very effective,
but then we have a situation when someone has just sort of died of cold in a London flat, you know, so we shouldn't be too surprised that someone doesn't know that other people have mentally handicapped children.
We've only got about 2 minutes to go, so let's take some questions that you might like to put to Ronnie and Geoffrey. Anyone like to put a question? Lady here.
Are we going to see you in Dynasty with that moustache?
Are you going to see me without a moustache?
Without.
Not to my knowledge at the moment. No, you'll see me with a moustache.
He's going on holiday.
Without it, but more manly with it, I think.
Thumbs down for the tash. Question from over here. Anybody want to ask a question here?
I'd like to ask why Ronnie's getting the sack from Crossroads. I know that's a stupid question, but I think the Crossroads storyline has got so bad recently. I mean, I still love it, but I see all the characters that... I mean, people know you, Barbara, and they've got people like John Latchford and people... I mean, can they afford to pay them and not you? Because
right, why is Ronnie getting the sack? It's got to do with Gabriel, hasn't it?
Well, very quickly, we have a new producer. And whenever a show gets a new producer, the new producer likes to make the show in his own image. And he felt that Sue and I were too fundamentally important to the show, in other words, too successful. So we have to go before he can remake the show in his own image.
Can I just ask both of you, so finally, just at the end, do you watch yourselves, your own performances? Do you switch on a daily basis, Jeff?
I do. I keep a record of all my film, yes, I do.
You do. What about you, Ronnie?
If a carpenter makes a chair, he should sit in it. An actor needs to watch his performance.
Oh, sir, that's lovely. Thank you all very much indeed. That's all from us and the soap stars and soap addicts. Hope you've enjoyed this week's offering, and we'll be switching us on again next Tuesday. In the meantime, from all of us, bye-bye.